that none of the old ones will return, but we don't know. That's what we don't know.
There's been an outcry, though.
There's been a huge outcry. And some names also mentioned as possible cabinet secretaries, obviously subject to confirmation in the National Assembly. And the Vice President is not happy, Deputy President. Not happy because what? He wasn't consulted, or what was it, Gabriel? Tell us.
We are speculating, number one. But Jeff, I like the way you've put it. You know that we've had 6 who've been retained. But you're also talking about a group of people that, and this has been communicated very clearly, that they are still in office. So we do not know for sure, and there's a problem with speculation. We do not know whether they are going to be retained or they are going to be reshuffled into other ministries. So we have to wait and see. It's a waiting game. But what I'm liking, though, is the new additions. One, we are looking at, Trukana coming in, one of the areas that we've always looked at as very marginalized. They are in and they are coming, John Munyas, this was a very good guy when he was in Kibaki's government as Ministry of Labor.
Keriako Tobiko.
Well, Keriako Tobiko, we have to wait and see the ministry that he'll get. I mean, I never saw this. Nobody actually knew, how he came in. But the other guy who I think was also a good catch was, Yatani. I mean, the guy did very well in Marsabit. Had there not been this clan politics that came in, I still think he would have continued to do well in Marsabit. Jeff, what I know for sure at this point, what the DP and the president are going to do, and I think and I hope they do it, is to crystallize on the people who can deliver.
David Osiani, is there a rift in Jubilee, or are we making a mountain out of a molehill? Are we just, because Kenyans, politics is our religion. Are we making too much of this? Are we reading too much into this?
Well, Jeff, thanks for having me. Ahead of the elections, Gabriel and I were on television sets quite a number of times, invited by the most stations to try and analyze the politics. And umpteen times I remember recounting that after the election we would see the rift in Jubilee, that URP and TNA will re-emerge and they will form as 2 independent factions within Jubilee. Because I knew then, as it is now exhibiting today, that Uhuru will be looking at his legacy while William will be looking at whether he can capture 2022. So every step must calculate for William towards that goal. For Uhuru Kenyatta, you don't want to not be remembered for anything. Because when you talk about Moi and people say education, and you talk about Kibaki and people say roads, SGR doesn't seem sufficient for the people who cannot afford it. You must touch the hearts of the Kenyans, the soul of the Kenyans. You must get down to this one project that literally transforms the lives of people in the villages. And that cannot be the SGR. So Uhuru must be looking out for, what am I going to be remembered for after such a stint? Now, yesterday in the Daily Nation, a gentleman called Justice Wanga probably recounted the goings-on as best one would. And Justice Wanga interviewed a very key ally of President Uhuru Kenyatta, former Gatanga Member of Parliament, David Murathe, who is also the deputy chair of the Jubilee Party. And whenever David Murathe has spoken, it has always seemed as though the president has spoken. And David Murathe did not spare telling them that, listen guys, the president has his legacy and the deputy president will have his tenure starting 2022 when he can now make his appointments. And he clarified that previously we were 2 parties. Now we are 1 party led by 1 person, and the consultations may not be necessary. Now that is very telling. Then David Mugonyi, who is the director of communications in the office of the deputy president, would later confirm that as the rumors were going around that the DP was not in the country, he actually was in the country. Now, if those are the scenarios being played, then for some of us who have interacted with the politics, quite intricately, I would guarantee you that we are going to be in for a bumpy ride. I told guys, pull your seats. The cinema's just begun. It's going to be something worth watching.
Grab some popcorn.
Grab some popcorn.
But see, there are two things that David has said, Jeff, that I really actually don't agree with. Number one, when you talk about Kibaki and roads and you talk about SGR is not enough. You see, the problem we've done, quite oftenly is that we think for you to realize a development, you must use it. And when you talk about roads, it's like you saying when Kibaki was doing roads, everybody was going to use those roads. You don't look at it that way. You look at what will be used, what will travel on that railway, how will it reach? I mean, something leaving Mombasa, let's say food, will get to the innermost village in Kenya. How does that happen? It's transportation. So you don't need really to look at the core travel. There are domino effects. And that's what I'm saying. SGR will do so much good, that we may not actually be able to talk about.
I think what David is trying to say, Gabriel, what David is trying to say is Uhuru needs a legacy.
He needs a legacy. And number one, he's done very well in education, and I hope really we continue to push education, because some of the things that we are seeing, when you look at the textbooks today, when you look at the free primary education, we are coming to free secondary education. If we can push this agenda by and large, that can actually be a legacy that Uhuru would leave. But when you talk about the big four, and actually that's where, Jeff, I would like us to concentrate. You saw the tweet from William Ruto yesterday, and what he's telling guys is that, shut up. I'm in the loop. I'm in the mix. He's my president. Let us wait and see the team that Uhuru will bring about. But what I don't want us to do, Jeff, is to say that there's infighting when the two principals themselves, they are saying, guys, we are doing our very best to put up a team.
David Osiani, was that tweet necessary? It seemed like he was really kind of peeved.
For you to be able to speak about William, you must have dealt with him. Some of us have. William is a cunning character. He is a calculator, and he has this absolute tigritude that you cannot hold him back when he goes. That's why I'm saying he will not be a pushover. So it's going to be a fight. The best thing probably would be to get a middle ground, and William will have his way. The problem is the president has also seen that and says, you know what, I have respect for you, but I am boss. I am the president. As is in the Constitution, William can only depend on the goodwill of the president.
Right.
He cannot force a thing right now. He can only depend on the goodwill as extended by Uhuru Kenyatta. So if Uhuru Kenyatta decides that he's going to name a cabinet of 13, my friend, he will, of 22, he well may. There's a reason he probably called in Keter and Rotich, who are William's people. I know Rotich may be more of Uhuru's person because he worked under Uhuru when Uhuru was Minister for Finance. Yeah. But Charles Keter is one of Ruto's closest allies. So he put the Ruto team in a corner of not being able to make noise because, after all, our guy is in there. But I also read that Uhuru may not have been very happy with what went on with the Council of Governors, because it is understood that the deputy president pushed for the chairmanship of Nanok for him to retain the seat. And they said he will be on for another 6 months, then Mvurya will take over. But I almost guarantee you, call me here 6 months later, Nanok will do a full term of 1 year. After which the new team will take over.
And you think that was DP Williams' machination?
It was recorded as his machination.
So are you saying...
Just the same way in Marsabit, where Ukuri Atani lost, who is a very personal friend of Uhuru Kenyatta over the years.
Yeah.
Lost
NDP
to
as well.
Mohamud.
Yeah.
Lost to Mohamud, who was being supported by the DP because he belonged to the URP faction within Jubilee.
Yes.
So the appointment of Munyes to counter Nanok and Ukuri Atani to counter Mohamud is quite telling of a rift. Maybe that's what the DP did not really like. Maybe. Just maybe.
Yeah, you see, again, crazy speculations. Crazy speculations. I mean,
you're reading too much into this, Gabriel.
Of course, Jeff. Number one. The one thing I'll agree with David is when he says you could see an uprising, which again I highly doubt, between URP and TNA. Those two parties are long gone.
I guarantee.
And let me tell you, they are long gone. The beauty about what the president and his deputy were able to do, and I told people, if it works, it is going to be a stone that many people cannot move, and that is Jubilee. you're looking at Jubilee choosing, and by the way, it's like they've already selected the person who will be running for the 2022 ticket. You had President Uhuru the other day, I think he was somewhere in Central, when he said, these issues of electoral reforms, you know what, let me do my job, you'll take it up with William in 2022. What President Uhuru is trying to say is, come 2022, this will be the guy you'll be running up against. And that means for DP, even though it's wrong at this point to start talking about the 2022, elections, the DP, what he's telling the DP is that it will be seriously in tune with what they are doing now to create a platform for him to have an easy
So
win.
why
And I
should
think
he?
that is what
So
they are
why
going
should
to
he worry then? Why should he be so?
He's not worried. What has he done to show that he's worried?
That tweet alone.
That tweet was talking to everybody, including people in Jubilee. He was telling them, guys, politics of 2022, not now. We need a team, first of all, so that we know how we are going to carry these agendas. And they are talking about the four issues that the president wants to do.
Okay.
So that is what's going to be. That's what's going to be.
Oceani disagrees.
We need to
Oceani
follow.
will
You need to
always-
follow the deputy president rather closely, even on his social platforms. Up until the president made that announcement, the DP's handle was very active on that day. Very active. Tweeting about education, retweeting Matiang'i's whatevers, and going on until that announcement went, and it just went cold until yesterday.
Jeff, I
Now,
can guarantee you here
that,
and now,
Gabriel,
that which
that
they will do, the kind of team that they bring, forth, and the manifestos that they are talking about is what will create a ground, either good or bad.
Listen to
for
me, Gabriel.
VP Ruto
Just
when it
listen
comes
to this.
2022. So this is
the
not an issue.
the
What
silence of the DP and his henchmen, that Murkomen is not speaking, that Duale for once has his mouth shut.
Duale spoke yesterday.
He tried to quite sanitize the situation and was non-committal as to whether they supported or
Jeff, I
did not
agree with you.
support.
Guys are
Listen
reading
to me. No,
too much into this. Reading
Come
too
on,
much into
come on,
it.
Gabriel. It's as obvious as it gets. Duale would get out and say, "We want to thank the president for doing that. That's the way forward." Duale was non-committal. He was sitting on the fridge. What did he say? He said, "That's the president. He knows what he's doing,
Jeff,
and we are behind
Jeff,
him."
do you know technically?
That's politics,
Technically,
yeah,
Jeff,
friend.
do you know technically?
Yeah.
Jubilee has only, the administration, by this I mean Uhuru, do you know they've only appointed 3
Right.
PSs? So what's the fuss all about? You have 13 to go. What's the fuss all about? And by the way, there is no CS
They've
position that
replaced
is vacant. Replaced
Or
What do you mean?
appointed 3. What
Just
do you mean
appointed
appointed 3?
3.
They've appointed 9.
Who has been fired? Who has?
They have appointed 9.
Oceani. Who
There
has
are
been fired?
22
Who has been let go?
positions.
Let me ask
We
you
do
this.
not know for sure.
But Gabriel, if he retained those 6, let's say
Yeah.
the 6, right? For instance, why isn't Amina in the 6th?
Well, now that's what we do not know. Now,
Of
it is
all the
going
people,
to be
that's
Of all the
it's
people.
going- listen, it's going to be absurd for us to
Yeah.
say, well,
Yeah.
she was
She didn't
let
want the
go.
job,
Or she didn't want the job. We do not know. All right.
Yeah.
What if we find Amina back there tomorrow?
Sure.
This will be all in vain. So it is upon. And by the way, remember in 2013, it was the very same thing. They started by naming 3 only. All
I
right?
am
So
unsure of
we
many
are reading-
things. I am sure, though,
Yes.
the one person who has lost his job with finality
Yes.
is Hassan Wario. Because Ukuri Atani and Wario both come from Marsabit, and you cannot have 2 cabinet secretaries from one county. So the guy
So
is
Wario
gone.
is gone.
We wish him well in his retirement. He's a young guy.
Yes.
He failed us.
Completely.
Coming to this question
From
of
Rio on down.
when we speak about young
Rio
people, by the
could
way,
deliver
I
Rio.
am really hoping that the president and his deputy find it suitable to appoint true youth. I'm speaking below 35, who would be competent enough to be cabinet secretaries. This is the country that once believed in Tom Mboya at 33 years old in 1963. This is the country that believed in Mwai Kibaki at 32.
Correct.
So if these people are committed, and I want to see as much women also, you can't tell us that young people suddenly over the years have become incapable. That you have PS positions in the previous government. We only had Irungu Nyakera as the youth, who's now 34, appointed to be a PS for transport. And that was great But when you make such appointments in a country that suffers, in an ethnocracy, we no longer have a democracy. In such an ethnocracy, then you have to be a little considerate, because then when it is seen that the single position created for youth also just went to the person who can speak the president's mother tongue, it becomes quite of a problem. So I'm really looking forward in this era when we are going to have about 55 PSS, I guess, because the portfolios have been expanded to 22 from the previous 20. I really hope we are going to have young, focused people. If the president wants to truly leave a legacy of hard work as opposed to politics, because the people who've just been appointed are politicians except Tobiko. Of course, Munez is a professional politician. I don't also want us to bandy all politicians as being intellectually incapable or developmentally unconscious. But if you truly want guys who will transform this country, then you have to have that generational mix. Give the middle-aged, give the young an opportunity to, to steer this country, and give the old people a chance to be able to share, to have, they have that institutional memory to be able to share the experiences going forward.
David, one thing I'll agree with you, before we talk about young, before we talk about gender, I think, Jeff, the overriding factor should be this one: competency. The ability to deliver. It would be, I actually came thinking about this whole scenario. Who should get these seats? Who should get these positions? And I was like, to me, Kenya is like a patient. It's like when you go into a hospital, what would you rather? What would be your what would be your first criteria as you choose the person to attend to you? Will it be somebody who's a woman or a man? I don't think so. Will it be somebody who's old or young? I don't think so. The first thing that you question, that you really deeply push, is are they able? Are they competent enough? And I think that should be the overriding.
Let me ask you this.
Gabriel.
No,
For the first time.
You disagree with him, eh?
I disagree with you.
What would you go for, Jalas? What would you go for? Would you like to have a woman just sitting there who is not competent? Would you like to have a young guy?
Who are you referring to?
Listen.
No, I'm just talking generally.
We have young women. We have young
not
people.
Refusing.
We have who are capable of doing this.
Competency should be the overriding.
Competence. Who are competent and are able to deliver in these ministries.
Correct.
And you Gabriel first. I don't know whether you're youth or not. You like to be one, or you pass always to be one. Once or twice, you'd want to see young people being in charge of some of this.
I would, Jalas, I would, but I do not want to be a mockery like this guy is talking about Wario. I don't want it to be taken out of context that Gabriel got that or Jeff got it, but he's unable to deliver. So he must be competent enough, and we give him the support that he requires so that he can deliver. But the overriding factor, I agree with David, competency must come to play.
How do you get rid of 75% of your cabinet?
You see, Jeff, I want to correct the notion. I mean, I don't want us to be sitting on fences and trying to be nice when people have underperformed.
Yes.
Right.
If Rachel Omamo did not perform, she did not perform.
Good.
If Dan Kazungu of mining did not, as Matiang'i is doing all these things, you have some of these people, no policy direction, and nothing, they literally had nothing going.
Phyllis Kandie.
When you have such characters and you want us to sit here and glorify them, it is what it is. If we cannot have CAF in this country because of the absolute failure of Hassan Wario, because he thought that the industry was put in was just to, make money look nice, wear nice suits. He's a achieving scholar like myself. He has beautiful leadership capabilities. But when you've been tested and tried, and you are not transformational enough, then it doesn't matter the age. And I'm not a stupid promoter of the idea of young people being given a chance. But I must tell you that there are young people who are capable of delivering.
Tell me something.
Just as there are old people who are failures.
And I agree with it.
Tell me something.
And that's why I'm agreeing with Dallas. You see, at the end of the day, Jeff, there's something also that we must be alive to. One is that we only have 22 positions. When you look at the 40-something tribes that make our social fabric, we know very well that there are regions and tribes that will not get a CS position. And it's okay, we must understand that. But at the end of the day, that should not hold back the leadership from looking deep enough and actually even engaging society. Look at some of the brightest people that come from that particular
Speaking of
area.
bright, would you want to see an Ababu in there?
I would. The man is Right, the man
Osiani,
is, you know.
would you want to see a Babu in
And
there?
even as Osiani, I would like to see a David there.
Yeah.
You know, if he can deliver,
Amen.
you know, I mean, he's a young guy.
Smart.
Well, he's smart.
He's a lingua francaist.
Lingua franca.
Not much.
Talking of
And you
young
see-
people who can always deliver.
Go on, give us a name.
Look at Oigara.
Joshua Oigara, KCB CEO, the group CEO.
Everybody, when he came in, everybody was like, will this 30-something young
He
man...
was like 27 then or something.
27 then.
Yes.
Can you see what is done with KCB?
Biggest bank in Kenya.
Exactly.
Not even in Kenya now.
In East Africa.
I mean, there are people who at
You know-
their younger age, even Kidero,
yes.
at 29, when he became the CEO of GlaxoSmithKline, at 29, before going to Nation Media, I bet to you he did better than he did in his previous regime as governor.
Right.
So there's something about young people. They want to prove that they can do it.
Yes. Look at this Nzioka Waita.
Yes.
Oh, that's
Look at him.
amazing.
Look at this
Amazing.
man.
And I've got Nzioka, we come from the same industry with Nzioka.
Uh-huh.
The guy has done really well. Look when he was the corporate director at
At
Safaricom.
Safaricom.
My goodness.
He was heading to the top, by the way.
And now he's, you know, that's what
Is
I'm
he,
talking
is he
about.
chief of staff or what is
He's
he?
the chief
he's-
of staff now.
he's-
He's the chief of
he's
staff
chief of
and still
staff
heading the
Slash delivery, yeah?
Yes, and I
Delivery
can
unit.
guarantee you, if there's one guy who I know for sure will be a performer, it's Nzioka Waita. So, imagine,
And he's young?
Yeah, exactly. So imagine like what Jeff is, Jalas is saying. Imagine if we, for once, we just close an eye, or you know, be a little bit blind to tribe and say, hang on a minute, Mr. President, get somebody who will just deliver and one who is competent.
But there are people in there
Yeah,
who don't want
care.
that.
Don't care where they'll come from.
There are people inside
point,
the
I know.
house.
Exactly.
And
President-
that
the
is the
president-
problem.
the
That
president-
is the problem.
the
But
president-
to me, that would be my advice to the president. Just, you know,
Most of
be
now
blind.
that he doesn't have...
Nothing
I
to
don't
lose.
know, nothing
Exactly.
to lose.
Yes, nothing to lose,
Doesn't
Jalas.
have a big burden on behind.
No.
And Jeff, that's why I'm saying let's give him time. Let's see the kind of team that he'll come up with. I mean, he's had some CSs who've really done well. I mean, before you know it took another turn, Waiguru had done very well. You know?
Hey.
No, I'm serious. I'm serious.
Hey.
She had done very well.
You,
know,
you,
that's
you,
just
you
the
had to
truth.
mention Minji.
That's just the truth.
But
you know,
there's no more time you're going to give this. Following the appointments that the president has already brought out, you see, really, it's political.
It's more the same.
It's more.
The difference is so similar.
Yeah. So
And by the way, I'm looking forward. I really want to see what John Munoz would do. You know, I mean, he brought in some serious policies, like
But-
I told
yeah.
you when he was in Kibaki's government.
But let me ask you this, and Osiani referred to this. The last cabinet appointment, remember the president came out with his deputy again in
Red ties,
red ties and folded shirts,
white shirts,
saying, we don't want politicians anymore.
Yeah.
We're going to get technocrats, we're going to get CEOs, we're going to get business leaders, we're going to get anyone but politicians.
You see, our kind of politics, by the way, there are people who probably we've not seen them. We were used to the kind of politicians. The likes, they talk like David Osiani, they bloat about, they push and pull. But now you have somebody like Aiden Mohammed, former CEO of Barclays. And
He did a lot of nothing.
you can't say he did a lot of nothing.
What did he do?
It's
What do you
because
remember
we
him for?
expected him to be on the mic all the time.
Nope.
That's what we expected. But he was able to perform well at Barclays.
But not at industrialization.
He's brought in people who are actually able to do. Look how they've worked in hand with the Association of Manufacturers. Look at some of the few companies that we are manufacturing. Not actually we are assembling. We have assembling plants.
VW.
So let's give it. Let's give it a push where where things have been happening. And I'm liking the fact that manufacturing is one of the arms that President Uhuru is trying to push. So if we can get people, even though we are still talking who can be a politician, who cannot be, just people who can deliver, even if they come from the CEO cluster of things, let's give them the chance. I don't think this issue of whether they are politicians or not, I don't think it matters, because look at Matiang'i. Matiang'i was not a politician. Look at what he's been able to do. Mocharo was not a politician. Look at how they've been able to marinate education and ICT.
Okay.
Amazing.
Guys,
Yeah.
let me say, for me, delivery is not merely about gravitas or chest stamping or getting to the mic.
I'm saying that's
I'm
what we are
privileged.
used to.
No, wait, that's what we are used to. But when I say someone has done nothing, I have done an assessment, because public policy is my background. public policy. It's so massive, it's so wide. So I would check health policies, and that's why I had qualms with the president when he decides to retain people like Muraguri. When you talk about transformation, then it is someone who steers the whole sector towards a different policy direction to the betterment of that sector. Sometimes you don't need to change a thing if they are okay. But our industry sector in this country hasn't been anything to write home about. The jobs creation, if the jobs were not created as the president and his deputy had envisaged in 2013, promising 500,000 jobs a day, the first culprit, before we go to informal sector, the first culprit ought to be the Minister for Industry, who has been Adan Mohammed.
Yeah.
And so these people, and that's why I am really hoping that the president wants something out of this regime indeed. It's not just lip service. But again, it is important to note that not all politicians are zombies. So there is a likelihood you have professional politicians. There have been people who left politics and went back to their private lives, like Shemo Chwodo, who was once a member of parliament, but he's one of the best ICT gurus about, and went back to South Sudan and went to Rwanda and did something with his life. And that's why I would encourage, even though the president would really love to have politicians, can we have professionals, politicians who are professionals, who will for once take off their coats and say to themselves, I'm no longer running for governor, I'm up to transforming the lives of Kenyans. Now, that's where the problem may be. Because if you bring Munyes, he will be trying to undermine Nanok throughout that time. If you bring Ukuri Atani, he'll be trying to prove to his support base that this guy called Mahmoud is not useful. So those are the things to talk about. But my hope is that these guys will give us a transformational team. And they will not fret to fire anyone after a year if they do not deliver.
Guys, would you want to see Tuju in there?
Well, I kind of think Raphael Tuju is a decent human being.
Yeah.
I think he's a decent human being. And he did fairly okay in his previous ministry.
When he was also
foreign
affairs and stuff like that. But I'd really like to see faces like Monica Juma. You know, that quiet people
tough,
who do the job.
Tough cookie.
People celebrate Amina, and I think Amina's been good. But I think she's only been as good as she has had Monica Juma.
You think?
The two of them. I'm not.
Monica's a good driver.
Monica
I know.
And she
competent.
doesn't like the cameras.
No.
So you would not even pick her out in public.
No.
But her competence is unquestioned.
Good point. Good point.
So that's what I hope for.
That's
well, if there's one thing, Jeff, I think me and David agree upon is the element of competency. And I know so many people have been, asking. I was just watching the news downstairs, and people are just talking about, gender. We need proper representation. But like I want to repeat here again, Jeff, competency and the power and the strength to deliver should win the day. I am not saying we really not look at the 2/3, law. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about that we leave other areas marginalized when it comes to appointments of CSS and PSS. No, but the overriding principle here should be who can and who is able to deliver. So I think that is, after all is said and done, I think that should be.
I kind of believe that we have sufficient competent women and young people in this country.
I agree. Sufficient.
We Kenya, after Ghana, is the second country in Africa with the highest human capital. In terms of intelligent human capital, in Africa, we are only second to Ghana. We are educated. We are highly educated, more than South Africa, more than Egypt,
more than
Nigeria. We comparing the ratio of the educated to the population, we are a very educated lot. It is possible, but as the appointments go on, the other thing I would call the attention of the president to. You see, we're talking about state of the nation when we don't even have a nation yet. The country is so fragmented. It's the truth we can't run away from. There has never been a problem when you extend an olive branch. Reach out to your enemies and be genuine about it. I have recounted times without number about how Mandela handled Buthelezi. He didn't like him, and Buthelezi was such a gross underperformer. But he said, okay, because we want to move the country forward, come. So when you go to Kakamega, go and tell the bullfighter Boni Halwale, you have insulted me all this while. Fair enough. You have a different manifesto and a different way of doing things. Fair enough. Now bring that to my government. Come, BCS for health, BCS for agriculture, whatever it is. Can I see you at work? Now, when that will be done,
Wow.
you will have shown the country
Yeah.
that you really intend to move the nation forward.
Let me ask you this. Let me
must
play
not be
devil's
brought
advocate.
on the political basis.
Would the bullfighter take it if he was offered? Do you think he'd take it?
No, let the country see the bullfighter rejecting it. That exonerates you.
You see, Jeff,
Make the appointment.
Yeah.
Let the country know, just as you
So
called
call his
Nunes out.
bluff. Call his bluff.
Call his bluff and say, guys, I have appointed Boni Halwale, the CS for health, based on his competence,
Yeah.
based on his performance as the chair of party, and based on his aggression.
you see, Jeff,
And then let him go to media and say, I have rejected.
Okay, what if he offered Kalonzo Foreign Affairs?
Fair enough. I think that would reduce Kalonzo's stature.
I
think. I mean, I'm just
what
talking
is
politics.
he now? What is he now?
He was a vice president.
Yes.
It's going to be very hard for him to go down. But even Kalonzo Musyoka, if he called him and he's genuine about it, call his bluff.
Call his bluff.
Just tell him, Chief,
Take foreign
this
affairs.
is it. This is it. Let's move the country forward. It's how to start healing a country. We are so fragmented, and this cannot go on for too long. And if we do not fix this, then the political class is going to take advantage of this to deepen these divisions.
Yeah. And 2022 will be worse.
Yeah, just three
Far
things I would
worse,
like,
I
three
guarantee.
things I would like to say. Number
Go.
one, when you talk about somebody of Kalonzo's stature being demeaned, I think number one, that is wrong. One thing we've not been able to do, albeit the fact that David is saying that we are some of the most educated. I won't use educated, but probably I would use something else. Because really, if you look at education, then education would allow us to value our environment and be able to fix it, in a very quick manner. That's not what we are doing. One thing we have not one thing we've not really engaged with is when politics comes to an end. Probably the president would like to reach out to the likes of Boni Halwale, but these are people who do not know when politics has come to an end. When politics comes to an end, you sit down and say, guys, it is done. How do we move the country? Not my village. All right? You may actually have a good relationship with the people around you,
Right.
but how do we move the country?
But Osiani says, call his
Right.
bluff. Call his bluff.
Even if you would want to, all right, you probably would want, you mean well, but the guys do not stop politicking and still calling you names. How do you bring in somebody who has been castigating you from one radio station to the other? And so, like, guy,
That's
you kindly-
what leadership is.
It's not about listen.
Leadership
The
provides you
issue
with a
is
thick
if
skin.
politics comes to an end.
Yeah.
And first of all, when the president said, I am open to talking to anyone about development. So you know very well that the subject here, Jeff, is going to be development. Why can you not say, guys, we are done. Let us support this man. Number two,
Okay.
when you talk about if you are really into service, Jeff, and even the likes of somebody like Kalonzo Musyoka, you have nothing at this point. It is gone.
Let me
And
stop you right
realize-
there, Gabriel. Let me stop you right there and tell you. I'm referring back to Ababu Namwamba, who refused to swear in Parliament. Remember Kibaki's
it.
Parliament?
Right.
He
Things
swore on
changed.
Raila Odinga.
Correct.
He was the most rabid, if you will,
I agree.
supporter of ODM then, NASA later, Generali himself.
Yes. Yes.
Everyone said this man could one day succeed Raila in ODM. And then what happened? And where is he now? What tune is he singing right now?
Exactly.
It is the time when he realized it is gone.
The
And
same
he
thing.
accepted.
The same thing
And
with
he accepted.
bullfighter.
Politics is done. The bullfighter. You see, Boni Halwale, albeit the fact
Never
that he's
say
somebody
never
who's
in
energetic.
politics.
No, I'm not saying
Wetangula
never. But all
was
I'm saying-
among the people
listen,
negotiating
all I'm
for
saying-
Kibaki against Raila
all
Odinga.
I'm-
Where is
all
he?
all I'm saying is this: you have to understand me very well. I'm saying when politics comes to an end, and you realize the season is done, count your losses and your winnings, and say, guys, how do we move forward? And you say, and I'm ready and I'm willing to work with anybody for the sake of development. When you when an olive branch has already been given. I don't know what other olive branch David is talking about. The president, he said, I'm open to discuss. So when you're coming to discuss, legally when they say, whoever comes to equity must come with, with whatever happens.
Where do you find him to discuss?
So what do you mean?
Where do you find him to discuss?
Are you telling me today, somebody like the bullfighter, if he wants to reach out to the president, he cannot be able to get
No,
a
this is where you get it wrong.
I think, Jeff, what we are doing, and I want to repeat this time and time again, David, is for us to know that politics has come to an end. How do we support the president? And probably that's where now you start talking about, Mr. President, if you need me to help you in any way, shape, or form, just let me know. I'm available.
All right.
Because here you're not serving the president alone, you're serving the Kenyan people.
All right.
Guys,
Yeah.
this is where we have to start. And it must not be the bullfighter reaching out to the president. Leadership demands true servanthood.
That's what
The president cannot tell us, for optics' sake, that he is open to dialogue, and we do not see it. It doesn't matter whether he does it in the confines of his house. If he does not reach out and make the country
How do
understand,
you want to see dialogue?
relax.
David, how do you want to see it?
Chief, can you give me time?
I'm giving it, but you're not. You want
If
the
you
president to have structured dialogue.
if you
can't.
cannot reach out and make the country understand that you have made an attempt to reach out, and the only way they understand is through your sources of news. If you do not show us that you are reaching out to fix the country, if you do not first admit even that there may have been a problem at the elections, then you are not intent on really moving the nation forward. Let me tell you, and you see, the thing is, I have not feared to advise the president or the opposition leader, and I'm just that. I work so independently. My name betrays me because it's a no, but that's it. The president must show that he really intends.
The president just the other
to
day,
reach
I
out.
think yesterday, called one of the radios.
Yeah,
And
radio
I think he
station.
was asking for
Yeah.
a song to be played. What did he say? I am open to whoever is seeking to dialogue with me, as long as we are talking about moving Kenya.
By the way, he sounded a lot like Jomo yesterday, didn't he?
Yes, as long as.
Yes,
So,
Jomo
David, you cannot,
Yeah.
you cannot talk on the mic here and say the president has not reached out.
Have you seen him reaching out?
Talking on radio, that's reaching out.
So
He's
that-
welcoming every person who wants to dialogue
So,
with him.
okay, I want to dialogue with Uhuru.
Okay, go.
Where do I
out.
reach him? Reach out how? Muduma, can you reach out to him now?
Of course.
Guys, let's be real.
Of course.
The president
If
must
Giveriman can reach out to
himself
you,
initiate
if
the
Giveriman
reaching
can
out.
find the president, he's my president. What are you talking about?
Gederi man.
How come?
What about me who doesn't speak his mother tongue?
Muthuma will.
That may be the only way to get
Yeah,
him.
you see, that's a problem.
Muthuma can go through Minji.
And by the way, there's something we have not finished about Kalonzo Musyoka. There's something we have not finished about that.
Go
Let me
on.
tell you.
Yeah, I feel
Jeff,
bad.
do you remember the thing where I keep insisting that when politics come to an end, we need to know politics they've come to an end. Do you remember after Mitt Romney lost to Obama, 2 days later he was seen inside the supermarket, no Secret Service,
Yeah.
just buying whatever he was
Yeah,
buying.
kawaida.
That's the kind of mindset that we need to have. So if Kalonzo Musyoka gets a position or a CS position in Uhuru's government, what is there to demean him? He wants to serve Kenyans.
Okay, guys,
Let
before
him go
we
ahead
wrap
and do
up, Vincent Obare says, great team in the studio discussing pure facts. Jeff and Jalas, did you know that David Osiani can sing gospel?
Oh my.
He is our choir master at church. Tell him to sing one
Choir.
hymn. Go on, Osiani. Go. I didn't know this about Osiani. Go on.
Osiani,
God.
can you sing? Well, I've had
No,
him sing.
no.
By the way. I've had him. He has a very good baritone.
He does, doesn't he?
He's half of the time he sings off key, but well, not some like not like some of us. You cannot carry a
Osiani,
tin
give us
bucket.
2 lines. Give us 2 lines.
I only
Give it a
sing
key.
country. That's all I used to sing.
Country, eh?
Some broken hearts never mend.
Oh,
That's all gospel.
Some memories never fade.
There you go. Do.
Some years will never. What are you doing?
Don William.
The guy said you sing gospel.
No, it's okay, man. It's okay. We love it.
Amazing grace,
Jalas,
how sweet The sound
I can understand.
that saved a wretch like me. Please save Muduma. Amen.
Happy New Year.
Oh, hallelujah.
Was blind, but now I see.
Oh my,
Yeah, that's
oh
me
my.
singing.
That was in another life, ladies and gentlemen.
Gabriel Muthuma, David Osiani, great to have you on the show. Let's keep doing this, okay? As the cabinet nominees keep streaming in, we're going to be having you to comment about it. And great insights. Thanks so much for your insights. Appreciate
Happy New
it.
Year.
And Happy New Year, gentlemen.
Happy New Year.
Nice one. Almost top of the hour. Jalas.
Yes.
This is what we call
Candid interviews with decision makers.
You're now rocking with the best, man.
It's the Hot Breakfast with Jeff and Jalango.